So, where we last left off, Deku had just gotten in the UA and he had just met his other classmates. And Mr. Aizawa had just appeared and told him to go outside to get the quirk apprehension test ready. So now, once the class is finally outside, he has Bakugo test how far he can throw a ball with his quirk. Bakugo then gets 64 meters. The students would be very excited, and they expressed that it was kind of fun and that seemed fun. Then Aizawa would say, "Oh yeah? Well then, the person who gets the lowest score will be expelled." So at this point, Deku doesn't really have any powers, but he sure would do better than his canon counterpart in this, all the way up until the throwing of the ball. He'd be able to throw it really far, definitely farther than Mineta or the Invisible Girl, but I think where the rankings would go is Mineta would definitely get last place, and therefore he would get expelled, but a lot of them what if seem to just take him out right off the bat as soon as they give Deku a quirk. So here's what I'm gonna do. Mr. Aizawa says to Mineta, "Alright, you are expelled. Go to principal's office to tell him what I told you." And as soon as he walks out of sight, Aizawa would walk out and tell him, "Hey, this right here is how it's going to feel if you fail to save someone, but way worse." He'd use this opportunity to teach him that not only if he fails, it will not be only bad for him, but bad for other people. And so the next day, they would go through normal classes, and then it gets into the training ground. This is where All Might appears and tells them to go get their hero costumes. Obviously, everyone is super excited. And now, this is where I get to demonstrate Deku's hero costume. It looks similar as it does in the original Cells aspects. The mask and the headpiece is still the same, but it has armor plating, and it has a few flashbang grenades, along with like, let's give him a bow staff, since he does fight more agility based than he does strength based, since he is quite small, and he knows himself that he just can't perform big punches like All Might, so he might as well just throw a bunch of punches. So at this point, the kids would be questioning why they're at Battleground B. Some kids would be saying, "Hey, wasn't this where the UA entrance exam was?" Almond would explain that what they're doing is a sort of test. He would split them into groups of two. Half of them would be designated as villains, the other half would be heroes. And he would explain that the villains would have their goal to be guarding a nuke and letting the time run out so it explodes, and the heroes will be set to disarm it. The villains, if they capture the hero or the timer runs out, they win. The heroes, if they capture all the villains or capture the weapon, they win. We will not do any team changes. This is nothing significant has happened in order to warrant that. So the teams will be Tenya and Bakugo versus Deku and Ochako, Todoroki and Shoji versus Ojiro and Hagakure. You know, basic stuff. Everything would go the same up until Deku encounters Bakugo in the hallway, and Deku, knowing that he can't be there and Ochako doesn't really have a good place in the fight and that she can't really help out, he would tell her to go on ahead and he would stay there and fight Bakugo. Now, the fight here would be a lot more one-sided at first. Bakugo would, do his punch like Deku always predicts he does. He does get slammed there, so we still have that moment. But after he realizes that, he starts changing up his style, and Deku's having a hard time keeping track of him and trying to smack him with his bow staff that he hasn't really gotten a chance to get familiar with, so he's just kind of swinging it around like a baseball bat. But eventually he does land a lucky hit and hits Bakugo in the shin, let's say, which throws him off balance and sends him careening into a wall due to his own explosions. This will do significant damage since he was going at pretty high speeds into a steel wall. He'll sit on the ground, leaning against the wall, kind of dazed. And at this point, Deku would show no mercy, take his bow staff, and just clock him over the side of the head, knocking him out. He would then go to help Ochako, who is currently studying Ida, watching him go full thespian actor. And they would formulate a plan that kind of relies on Deku. Instead of Deku distracting Ida, which they know they can't, their main strategy would be to make Deku lightweight and have Ochako go in and distract him as Deku pushes off the front of the doorway over Tenya and touches the bomb. So I think at this point, Deku and Ochako would win, albeit with Ochako taking significant damage. And I don't mean like put her in the hospital damage, I mean like Tenya, even if he wasn't going full villain here, he wouldn't hold back at all. And it would hurt a lot. So for the MVP of this, it would still go to whoever did in the original. I think it was Momo. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, but also during the fight with Bakugo, he would declare that his hero name would be Deku. That thing still happens. So now, a day passes and they're trying to decide the class president. Tenya wants to put it to a vote. Deku wins the vote, as he did in the original timeline, but this time for slightly different reasons. Everyone still likes Deku and that sort of thing, but they also think that he'd be a strong figurehead since he doesn't have a quirk, but yet he still got into the school and he could pretty much tangle with a lot of the class. So they figured he'd be a good figurehead, but like after some reporters breaks in and sets up the alarm, students cause the panic. Deku, seeing Tenya calm them down, would decide to divert his duties to him in the class, trusting Deku after he gives the same speech, basically, except maybe a tad more aggressive. Tenya would then become class president as the same in the original. Now, the teachers would decide what to do about the break-in. They say that the walls have been disintegrated. They would not really think about to ask the reporter about how it got disintegrated, since the reporter didn't seem to have a quirk that could do that. After that conversation is finished, I think it would be the next day, Class 1A would be brought to USJ in order to teach him how to rescue people in a disaster situation. While they ride the bus to the new location, they discuss their quirks. Kirishima would say that his quirk is hardening. He can harden his skin to basically be like stone. Sue, she'd say her quirk is frog, and that she has the aspects of a frog. Shido would say her quirk is acid. She could spit acid from her hands and feet. I'm not quite sure if she could spit it from anywhere else, but that's what she says in the bus. Todoroki, he would be distant, but after some pressuring from the other people, he would say half hot, half cold. He can use fire and ice. Ochako would say anti-gravity. Whatever she touches loses gravity, but she can't do it for long, otherwise she'll puke up rainbows. Tenya, engine, he would then go into detail about his family and how he's part of that bloodline. Ojiro, he says quirk is tail. He has a tail. Ayama would go in a speech that basically boils down to his quirk is magnificent, and he has the most glorious quirk out there. His quirk's name is navel laser. He can shoot a laser from his belly button, but if he uses this for too long, he'll get a tummy ache and can't do it. Minato would say his quirk is pop off. He can pull sticky balls from his head and use them. He isn't affected by them, but other people stick to them and other objects. Shoji is duplo arms. He can make fists from his arms, eyes, mouth. He can make as many of them as he wants. Tokiyami is dark shadow, difficult to control in dark areas, but it gets stronger, more easier to control in lighter areas, but it gets weaker. Sero, he can spit tape from his elbows. Hagagiri, she's invisible. Koda, and a voice, he can basically control animals like a Disney princess. Sato, sugar rush, depending on the amount of sugar he eats is how strong he gets. Momo is creation, she can create anything from the fat sides in her body. And Jiro is earphone jack. She has earphones hanging from her earlobes. Bakugo, when asked what his quirk is by the rest of them, he'd tell them to shut up because they're shitty nerds. And so, after that introducing of quirks and whatnot, they'd arrive at the USJ, where they would meet 13 and Deku would fanboy. And as they're being brought in, we'll end it right there. And the next video would be on the USJ arc. I hope you guys enjoyed. If I happen to get some things wrong, which I'm pretty sure I did, be sure to leave it in the comments. If you liked it, like the video. If you disliked it, dislike the video and tell me what I did wrong. And hey, if you like it and you wanted to tell me what I did right, go right ahead. I ain't gonna stop you. I ain't gonna stop you if you say mean things about me either. Anyway, see y'all in the next video.